When we talk of mis and disinformation, what does that actually look like? I'm going to walk you through the 7 most common types of problematic content that we find online, so you are prepared to spot it and to help your friends and family and your community spot it too. First up is satire and parody. Obviously, making fun of figures of authority, celebrities, politicians, governments is an incredibly important part of any healthy democracy. The problem is that if satirical context gets shared outside of its original context, some people might misunderstand it and not understand that it's meant to be a joke, that it's meant to be funny. This is the story from the satirical website The Onion. So if you read it on their website and you know what The Onion is about, you get that what they do is poke fun at things to make a point. But what happens if someone screenshots the headline and shares it in a WhatsApp group? It's lost that original context and therefore can possibly be misleading. False connection. This is when the headline or the title of something doesn't necessarily match the body of the text. And you will have seen this, for example, in YouTube videos that have the titles in all caps and say, watch this before it gets taken down, or a really shouty tweet that is calling for you to click on something. And when you actually watch the video or read the content of the story, it doesn't match up. It's not as exciting as the headline or the title made it out to be. This particular example is of a rumor that went around earlier during the pandemic in 2020 about how alcohol could possibly prevent coronavirus. However, because the headline just asks the question and repeats it in the little bit of text underneath it, if that's the only thing you read and you share it, that can also become misleading. Misleading content. This is when the information that you're looking at seems to point to one thing, but if you stop and dig into it a little bit more, it actually means something completely different. This example, someone on Twitter is pointing out that the Obama Foundation tweeted something out on May the 17th of 2020 that now has, as the thumbnail of the website that it's referring to, a picture that has George Floyd's face on it. Now, this is a couple of days before George Floyd was killed by police officers, and they're using this as a way of saying, oh, the Obama Foundation knew what was going on and implying other conspiracy theory things. The reality is that Twitter just reads the thumbnail that the website has whenever it is that you load the tweet up. So the moment that the Obama Foundation changed the thumbnail on their website, if someone refreshed their Twitter feed to look at this particular tweet, it doesn't matter that the tweet is from May 17. What it's pulling is from the website as it currently stands, and that's why the thumbnail seems out of place. This is one of the most common types of problematic content that we see, and it's also super easy to accidentally share things that have been taken out of their original context. The way it works is that a photograph or a video or a report or a PDF that was true and accurate at a specific time gets reshared out of its original context. So sometimes months, maybe years later, in a different country with subtitles in a different language, and it's reshared to fit a new narrative. This photograph, for example, you might have seen it rolling around on social media in 2020, but it's actually from 2016 when a McDonald's burned down in Pennsylvania. However, it was reshared because it fit this narrative of what some people were seeing on the ground during a couple of nights of unrest, but it also spoke to people's fears of the violence and the lawlessness that they thought was happening, and they used this image to stoke that particular narrative. This one is another one of the most common types of content that we see out there, and it's when the logos or the names or the authority that we give to celebrities, peoples, governments, institutions get used and impersonated. This example is of a flyer that's trying to look like it comes from Joe Biden's campaign when it really doesn't, but it's just trying to stoke fears about voter fraud. Manipulated content. This is when photos, images, reports, PDFs, anything have actually been played around with, edited, photoshopped. This example is of a photograph that was published in a couple of news outlets on June the 12th, but it's actually a composite of 2 images that were taken on Capitol Hill on June the 10th. You can actually see, if you look at it, the guy with the mask in the front has the lighting on him looks a little bit different than the background. And that's where the 2 images got stitched together. And if someone doesn't check, they can share that as if they thought that it was true. Last but not least, stuff that's just been made up. These are theories or ideas or photos or videos or images that might be anchored in some sort of truth so that they're easier to believe that have just been made up. Now that you know the 7 types of problematic content to look out for, remember that this applies to everything that we share with each other, not just news articles and websites. Screenshots, WhatsApp audio messages, memes, images, posts on Facebook, they all carry information that we are trading off with each other. And if we share before we have checked it out, we can also be potentially passing on misleading information.